Hello and welcome to another Triplo AI video. My name is Felipe. I'm one of the co-founders of Triplo AI. And today I'm going to address a very common question of yours. What's the difference between using context and training? So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. They're very different, but serves the same purpose in the end. You know that every time that you're prompting AI, everything that you add to a prompt is somehow relevant because AI is like defining a space where it will work. So without jumping into deep math, AI is pretty anchored on like algebra and vectors and like defining spaces where things are connected or somehow relevant. But the important thing that you should remember is that everything that you add to your prompt will help AI to define these spaces. Therefore, you'll have like better results in the end. So when you're using context, the thing is that you are, in a sense, improving the quality of your prompt. It's always important that you use and you add as much context as possible to your prompts because this will render better results. And when you inject a context, either through awareness features like using the double dash, context double dash, or if you're using a smart prompt as context, you are fully injecting that content that you selected or that you have on your smart prompt into your prompt. But the backside of it is that you'll be consuming lots of tokens and maybe you're adding things that are not that relevant for that particular prompt. So let me give you an example. If I, for example, prompt about Triplo AI, and I know that AI was not trained with our most up-to-date content or doesn't know my page very well, I can inject the content of our page for when I'm asking about Triplo AI. What this will return me is a better answer about Triplo AI. So if that information is present on the context, AI will consider that and I'll get like better results. But this is easy because the full page of Triplo AI holds around like 3,000 tokens. So it's not that costly, and also there's not that much of data or information that will disrupt my answer. But let's say I'm trying to use Triplo AI and to answer like support tickets. In this case, I would need to carry my full documentation, and for sure I have much more tokens there and lots of information that may not be relevant for that particular question. So if the user is asking about how to reset the key device association, what do this has to do with like smart prompts? And remember that space thing that we talked earlier? Adding information that is not relevant to the prompt only makes it worse because you are making AI confused. Remember, it behaves somehow like a human. So if you start talking about cars and then you ask something about sports, then it makes it like, well, look, you were talking about cars and now you're asking me about like soccer, and I cannot like fully understand how these things are connected. So the important thing is that context should be always added if it adds to the relevance of your prompt, and if it's like its size, it's reasonable enough for you to prompt. Because if you're adding too many tokens at once, chances are you're using it to decrease the quality of your results. That said, we have training for that. And the main difference between training and context is that training is like a knowledge base. So on it, you can add up to, for each of your minds, you can add up to 200,000 tokens, which is pretty much the same volume of words as a book, a full romance book. And Triplo AI won't add all of the content to your prompt because sometimes it's even impossible. It makes no sense for you to prompt with 200,000 tokens. It would cost you lots of tokens. It would like make AI confused, and your results would not be good. So it's very smart and cost effective. It's in a sense the best way that you could get precise results out of large databases. And maybe the most important thing is that on training, you can add content that you're sure that is relevant for your prompts. So in that particular case that I shared, when I'm answering support tickets, I have a mine that carries my full documentation. So I'm sure that answering support tickets will use content from my documentation because it's like totally connected. But remember, I don't need to use my full documentation to answer each one of the questions that you send me. So what training does, it can create this knowledge bases using like full content that we have on documentation. So on Triplo AI, it's around like 35,000 tokens. And what it does, it builds these knowledge base. Oh, sorry, I'm just learning to use this thing. Let me try it again. Okay. So it uses this knowledge base, and whatever I prompt, it searches for relevant content and just deliver to the prompt what's relevant. So like small chunks that make sense. So if I'm asking about resetting a device, resetting a license, it will only inject the relevant part of my documentation. So it's cost effective because most of these like chunks carries at most, summing all of them, like 1,000 tokens. So it's kind of light and it's very precise. It's not like putting things that makes no sense for that prompt. And this results in a much better quality of results out of AI because I'm defining the perfect space for it to work and I'm adding content that makes sense for it. If you ask me what are the main differences between training and context, what I would say, I use context for small chunks of content that I know are relevant for a particular prompt. And it's very agile. I can be on like a web page and I want to know about that web page. I can use it as context, or I can use something that, for example, like a Wikipedia article about something that I'm asking or prompting. Good context for that. But for training, I'm using for those things that I know AI was not trained with. But more than that, I know that it's relevant and very important for my prompt, but not all of it, because mines are meant to be much larger than the regular context that you're using. So this is the explanation of the differences between context and training. If you have any questions, drop us a message on support@triplo.ai or leave a comment on this video comment sections or on Facebook. We are always here to help you do more every day with Triplo AI. Thank you. Bye-bye.